Michael, any comments about the photos that linked on Instagram this morning?
You know, the photos that leaked on Instagram, it's all fake news. In this building, we're just focused on winning football games. We're not focused on anything else. No emails, no Instagram, no Twitter. We're just trying to run the ball.
But they were pretty graphic photos, Michael. We have to circle back to that.
You know, when it comes to the photos, everyone needs to keep in mind that I've always been a fan of bubble prospects, all right?
This is not looking good for Michael.
Want to watch football without the restrictions of blackouts or cable? Check out expressvpn.com to help you get access to all the live games. Sign up today using the link in the description to get 3 free months. Go to Bolt Fam, it's the director. Chargers fans, we got an exciting one lined up for you guys today. Bumped into this man at the Chargers facility just a couple of days ago. We can't say the rising star anymore, as Michael Maclane, the name, the legend, has rippled through the Bolt Fam as one of the big bads in the Chargers content creator community. Michael, thank you so much for joining us today.
Dude, thanks for having me, the Jedi himself.
I like that. The Jedi. See, I was just telling him this. My wife and I refer to him as my Padawan. Not to be like, at one point, it depends if we're Jedi or Sith. I may be bringing up one of the best, or I may be getting slaughtered at one point.
Maybe you're Sith now.
With the Sith, you know what I mean?
Maybe.
Like, here comes Darth Vader, and anyway, exciting times to be alive. Chargers fans getting plenty of quality content, especially in a season where Jim Harbaugh has risen the stakes. The Chargers have the number 5 pick. A lot of fun reasons to follow the Chargers in 2024. And with that, I think we wanted to pick Michael's brain as to what the Chargers will be doing at pick number 5 and beyond. So what are we doing today, Michael? We are doing a mock draft.
Let's do it.
In the style of the director, 3 mock drafts. We're going to be alternating picks at one point. We're going to be alternating who's doing the entire draft at one point. And you guys in the comment section will be able to vote A, B, or C as to which one of these mock drafts are your favorite. Are you ready, Michael?
Yeah, vote for me in the comments, by the way. But yeah, I'm ready.
I don't like this. This is biased. This is planting of ideas. I don't know if this is. I don't know. We didn't write any rules. This is the Wild West of mock drafts out here. Before we do kick off, shout out to the sponsor, Underdog Fantasy. Use code DIRECTOR to match your first deposit up to $100. Get in on the action. Newcomers, if you're one of those crazy people that throw down for golf, now is your time to get in on this deal. Before we do kick off, hit us up with a like and sub if you do enjoy this Chargers content. The small amount of time you guys take to hit the like, sub, bell notification helps out a lot. Definitely check out Michael Maclane's channel as well, who's going to be in the comment section, or I should say in the description as well, in terms of his link there. Should be a pretty good time. With that, lights, camera, action. Here we go, the Michael Maclane Director Special in terms of our 3 mock drafts as we're getting much closer. Dude, Michael, I mean, I think one of the magical moments that happened at the facility experience that we had was the round table just before all of the interviews. And it got me pretty excited to get back on the comm with some of our guests, including you, as to how we want to attack things. So I'm going to give you the floor in our first mock draft. And you will have full control as to how this goes down outside of trades. We're going to save that for the very last mock draft. And I'll be able to chime in on some of your selections and vice versa in the second mock draft, which I will take command of. So, Bolt Fam, in the comments section, draft A will be Michael Maclane's. Man, I should be fired. In terms of who's controlling it and what the results could look like. So, that being said, Michael.
Were you trying to rhyme or were you trying to sing?
We're trying to get a little too fancy. And with that, let's start the first mock draft.
All right, here we go. Mock draft A.
Controlled by Michael Maclane. So, Michael, this is something Chargers fans have been hoping to see. We see a Malik Neighbors off the board ahead of the Chargers, which who knows, that could happen. Leaving Marvin Harrison Jr. still available at the top of the board. What are we thinking?
You know, this is one of those scenarios that we just don't know who the Cardinals have as their wide receiver one. So this is something that maybe it's not extremely likely because a lot of teams, they have Marvin Harrison Jr. as wide receiver one, but it is still a possibility. We could still be at 5 here without a trade down from the Cardinals and get Marvin Harrison Jr. And in this case scenario, he's right there. So this makes my job so much easier. I'm going to get a lot of comments saying mock draft day is the best one because I'm taking Marvin Harrison Jr.
I would like to offer, my gracious politeness in terms of our guest pick here. We are going to be put at an instant disadvantage. Marvin Harrison Jr. off the board. Chargers fans around the country, around the world are screaming in joy. We've got the big man in the Chargers wide receiver room. Let's go ahead and move into round 2 of the draft day Michael Maclane experience.
So I see
tickets on sale now.
Kingsley Suamataia went 1 pick before us. So to me, that tells me this tackle depth at this point in the draft, like every good tackle went. Is Amarius Mims gone? JC Latham obviously is gone. Can you go to
take a look at OT? Yeah, let's take a look at OT here.
For sure. Jordan Morgan. Blake Fisher was a guy that I think the offensive line coach for the Chargers went to the Notre Dame Pro Day. He put some work in with Joel and Blake Fisher. So I wouldn't take him here in the 3rd round. I would consider him. So I'm not going to take an OT. Let's get that out. Ooh, Peyton Wilson, I wouldn't consider him either, even though I think he's a really good linebacker. The medicals concern me, and I'd rather have Edger and Cooper, but I don't really think I want to take a linebacker in round 2. TJ Tampa's also off the board. He went to the Cardinals just 2 picks before us. I would have flown that pick in. I like Mike Samerstill as well. Kamari Lassiter, he's got the size that you want. I'm a little concerned about the 40 time. I like Ennis Rakestraw Jr., but I think go up a little bit because I saw wide receiver. Ladd McConkey is there. We also have, how about we take another Oregon quarterback? Bo Nix, thoughts?
I mean, it would be the shocker that rocks the Chargers community, but hey, man, this is the Maclane experience.
It worked out last time. Let's do it again. No, I think Zach Frazier is the guy that I would take here because we need to solidify that center position. I'm pretty sure he's a former wrestler. Wasn't he an all-state wrestler, or am I thinking of somebody else?
I think you're thinking of Zach Frazier. Yeah.
Okay. All-state wrestler. He's got great balance. I mean, this is the guy that you want to have at that center position. He's athletic as well. I think it would fit really, really well in Jim Harbaugh and Greg Roman's offense. We do have Bradley Bozeman, but listen, man, signing of Bradley Bozeman is not going to stop me from taking a center like Zach Frazier in round 2. Because Zach Frazier, I'd like to have him at center, and then I could move Bradley Bozeman to right guard.
I think ultimately when the Chargers are put in a position with the Corey Linsley situation in having to bring in his replacement, there's a couple of guys in this draft that really tickled my fancy. And yes, Zach Frazier is absolutely on that list for me as well. So small golf clap sponsored by Underdog Fantasy for the selection in the 2nd round for Michael Maclane. Here we go. Move into the 3rd round for the Maclane experience.
And this is only 3 rounds, right?
Only 3 rounds. We'll keep it nice, simple, clean, to the points.
Okay.
Edger and Cooper made it all the way to the top of the 3rd,
dude,
mind you.
The Cardinals taking 2 of my freaking guys, man. They took TJ Tampa, and now they took Edger and Cooper.
Right under your nose. What do we have to work with over here?
I like Christian Hayes a lot, but I'm not going to double dip there, I think. Oh, man. Do I? I don't know, because that's actually something to consider now that I'm thinking about it. We just took Zach Frazier. If we really want to solidify that interior of the offensive line, which we've seen in this offseason, it's become a premier position because of how many guys are getting top flight money. And so we could theoretically be taking Marvin Harrison Jr. in round 1. That's a premier position, premier player. And then Zach Frazier, another premier position, center. And then Christian Hayes. 3 premier guys.
All offense in the first 3 picks.
I could do that, but then I'm
and
also
Jesse
looking at
Minter weeps in the background.
Something that would make Jesse Minter happy, though, is Junior Colson is right there, too. That's another linebacker that I really like. He can fill gaps really well. He's got a great story. He's from Haiti. He's really young. He hasn't been playing football for so long, but he's got such a great football IQ, kind of like Mike Samerstill as well. But I think Mike Samerstill is gone at this point because I don't see him on the board. Yeah. He would be here.
Crazy how much that dude has climbed in the last month.
Can we scroll down just a little bit?
Mm-hmm.
Because I just want to see... Oh my God, Blake Corum. I wouldn't take him here. But we do need a running back. I'm not going to say we don't need a running back. I just think in day 3 we could get a running back. If if this was a 7-round mock draft, I would take Blake Corum in the 4th.
There's a lot of, I think a lot of us are going to be grabbing running backs in the 4th and 5th round, depending on who's available.
We do have that extra 4th round pick from that Keenan Allen trade.
Mm-hmm.
But I think let's scroll up a little bit. I think I made my decision. I'm going to take Kyrie Jackson, the cornerback from Oregon.
Okay. Just like the Chargers, let's look at everybody else and then swoop into the guy that we didn't even talk to at the last second.
Hey,
Kyrie Jackson.
He's got the size that you want at outside corner. He's extremely athletic. Look at that.
6'3", 195.
6'3", almost 200 pounds. And he is just, what is like a good word to use here? He's like a swarming kind of guy. He will just get all up in your business. And I think that's what they want on outside corner.
I think Kyrie's an awesome pick. He is super physical for the position. Needs to, I think there's a lot of potential there for his involvement in the run D as well, but just having a 6'3" guy out there, I think he ran a 4.5 flat. That is something I'm sure Jesse Minter would certainly be excited to coach up. So that's a good pick right there. The Chargers grabbing their corner in round 3.
He had a pretty good run defense grade as well. I didn't even realize his run defense was graded that highly by PFF.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the dude brings a thump. So there you have it, Bolt fam. Draft A, the Michael Maclane experience. Only 3 rounds. Only one of these days, Michael, we'll go crazy. We'll do all 7 rounds. We'll go drafts A through Z. But in this first one, Marvin Harrison Jr. off the board, round 1, pick 5, followed by Zach Frazier and Kyrie Jackson. That one's going to be a pretty tough one to beat. I'm not going to lie.
I feel good about this one.
Yeah, I would certainly agree with PFF in their assessment of an A grade.
They gave Zach Frazier a B-, but I feel like he was like maybe like the top 2 or 3 best players available at that time, wasn't he?
Oh yeah, and you know what? Honestly, okay, the grades up and down. I don't know if anybody takes them super seriously, but in the case that I don't select a center in the top 3 picks, I need to iterate that this position for the Chargers specifically, and Justin Herbert, this specific quarterback, could be a very, very instrumental selection for our future.
Oh yeah.
Because of what Corey Linsley offered the offense when he was healthy. There was a statistic floating around out there how more efficient the offense was when he was on the field. But more so, you want that general in that army, right? To give out orders, to take control of the offensive line, unburden Justin Herbert, and let him control the passing game in that way. So I think Zach Frazier could be that general in the future, not just as a talent in the middle, but a dude that can take charge and let Justin Herbert do what he does.
And we heard Marcus Brady echo that same sentiment that you just had right there. You want a center that can call things out, what he's seeing on the defense, so that it can allow Justin Herbert to clear his mind and just play football. It's just about taking pressure off of Justin Herbert. We're doing that here.
Yeah, I love we can just casually drop that. That's what Marcus Brady said, like 4 feet in front of us now. Like we got some clout.
He looked right at me. I don't know if you caught that. He looked at me at one point.
I saw him. I was looking at him, looking at Michael, thinking, wow, he's looking at Michael, looking at him. Dude. So we can talk about it later on the show. Here we are.
I asked him a question too. You heard that, right?
I heard that. I heard him. I saw him looking at you, looking at Michael, looking at me, asking the question back to here on the show. Content. Here, let's move on to mock draft B. This one's going to be the directors, and I'm going to try and keep things a little bit, give us a little bit of variety here. Okay, so we may not have the Marvin Harrison advantage. All right, we're just going to throw that out there in case our shortcomings are put on display next to the Maclane experience. Pick 5, director draft B. Here we go. No trades, mind you. I don't know if it could have ended any more perfect in terms of variety, because Chargers fans are screaming pretty much in 2 different directions right now. You got Marvin Harrison, who honestly is still my preference, if I'm being honest, and Malik Neighbors, who could be the next big thing. Man, like, as a Chargers fan, I want you to express to me your emotions in being clobbered by Tyreek Hill for so many seasons now.
You know, Malik Neighbors, I almost wouldn't even relate him to Tyreek Hill because his game...
it's not like him as a player, but just his effect in the offense. He's that freak of nature X-factor.
He's got that crazy explosiveness.
Yeah.
But I think what Malik Neighbors can be in the NFL, like, he could be something better than what Tyreek Hill is. And I know that's kind of crazy to sound, and I wouldn't put that on him. but he's got the explosiveness at a much better size. He's got positional versatility. He can play in the slot as well as on the outside. He's a really good route runner. He can block as well. There were a lot of plays where I saw Jaden Daniels, who in this mock draft just went to the Patriots. He was doing a lot of crazy stuff running the ball. He was really good running quarterback, by the way. And Malik Neighbors, he was working well with him in the run game, blocking defensive backs downfield, but then also when he's scrambling out, he has the feel to know when to get open and where to get open. He's got a really great feel for running routes and being able to tell where to stop in the zone coverage in order to get open for his quarterback who's running around and just scrambling for his life. And Justin Herbert, he did that this past season. Hopefully he's not going to be doing that a lot because we drafted Zach Frazier in the second round, right? In mock draft day, which everyone's going to comment and vote for. But Malik Neighbors, he has that ability to help out your quarterback in a situation like that, as well as blocking in the run game. I just think he's all around a very, very good wide receiver. I even went back. This is kind of long-winded. I'm sorry.
No,
I
please. This is me just grabbing a bucket and trying to like grab as much content from Maclane and chuck it into my channel.
I listened to every single interview that Joe Ortiz had when he was a part of the Ravens, and I tracked everything that he said that he liked in a wide receiver. Malik Neighbors was checking every single box. Every single box. Marvin, it's not saying that they have him as wide receiver one over Marvin Harrison Jr., which they could. I'm not saying they don't, but I'm not saying they do, because Marvin Harrison Jr. could be a guy that they look at as, the exception because he's just extremely talented. But the explosiveness, the speed, the athleticism, you can't argue that Marvin Harrison Jr. is more athletic than Malik Neighbors. And that is one thing that they really prioritize at the receiver position, even just when they brought in Marquez Valdez-Scantling. The one thing that he does have is speed. They value speed at receiver.
The Bolt Fam Draft B, all I have to do is sit back and let Mike win this for me. Malik Neighbors, I'm sold. I'm sold. No, but this is why the Force is strong with you, Michael. One big point that I loved hearing you talk about was the fact that Jaden Daniels was able to extend plays, and Neighbors worked in sync with him to create opportunities to move the ball downfield. That is probably the biggest thing that I see in comparison to Tyreek Hill. I credit Tyreek Hill a lot for the coming up of Patrick Mahomes, because that's something that those two did better than almost any duo I've seen in my life, right? And it's so hard to contain. We give Herbert somebody like that is, there's pretty much nobody in the NFL built to defend something like that. The offense transforms instantly. So yes, Malik Neighbors is going to be the move here. We got to move on, but this is the kind of player that brings a ceiling unprecedented in this draft and beyond, and that's how special this wide receiver class is. Marvin Harrison's an excellent selection, probably safer floor. Marvin Harrison is an exciting collection with one of the highest ceilings I've seen in a long time. There you have it, Bull fam. Looking good, looking good. Moving in to round 2 for the director. A couple of really nice names on here. Don't want to be too redundant because Zach Frazier is certainly very tempting to go back-to-back in these different drafts. We want to grab that center. Offensive line is going to be a big point of emphasis for this team. And I do think we're going to hit on it. Maybe even a couple of times. A very special class with a lot of depth at the position that you can find, honestly, in the 3rd and 4th round. The 3rd and 4th rounders this year would be 2nd, 3rd rounders last year. Like, it really is a lot of value that you're going to find. And the Ravens, even the Jim Harbaugh era with the Niners, they did a lot of good work in the 3rd and 4th round for their offensive linemen. So in this instance, we're gonna trust so that they can find that kind of talent a little bit later. Where the Chargers desperately do need talent, and it's a position that Michael hit on in the 3rd round last draft, is cornerback. And I think it's a very popular opinion right now. If you go skill position in terms of the offense, you go offense, whatever. You do whatever in the 1st round. That's not corner. You need to be looking at it in the 2nd and 3rd round. And there's some good depth this year. There's some good depth. You want a starting caliber corner, though, outside of the 1st round. You can find some guys, I think, with a lot of potential. But I don't think there's anybody in this draft, outside of some of the top 10 guys, at defending in the slot better than Mike Sainristil, especially in this defense. He was handcrafted by Jesse Minter to do exactly what Jesse Minter needs from that position in particular. And you know what? Slot, it's something that you see a lot nowadays on the field. You're going to see Sainristil more often than not in this defense, doing what he does, bringing that physicality to the run game, bringing athleticism, bringing coverage. He is the complete package to me. And yeah, some people might say, it's a little bit early to be taking a corner like that, but I honestly think Sainer still is going to shine. And yes, there is some potential for him on the outside, but playing the inside, I can think of very few guys that bring the kind of skill set he does. So I'm going to take Sainer still. Easy peasy lemon squeezy in the second round.
Over TJ Tampa?
I think over TJ Tampa. Oh, man, I guess I didn't even see him out there. I'm still going to go with it. I don't know if I see TJ Tampa available at the second round. He could be. He could be. But I think Sainer still, more often than not, is going to be available at 37. And out of the available cornerbacks, I think he's going to be the best one suited for the Chargers. I like Kamari Lassiter a lot. I really do. His athleticism scares me a little bit, though. We need to get faster. And I think in terms of that, Mike Sainer still brings us some of that best option for the defense. We're going to go him.
In the top 30 visits, haven't they been bringing in some cornerbacks that have a lot of size?
Yeah, they have. I don't know if they fit with Kyrie yet. But those guys certainly, I think we're looking at in terms of dudes that we can find even a little bit later.
So yeah, in this mock draft, I would assume if it goes to rounds 4 through 7, you'd find an outside corner, a bigger cornerback later on in the draft, and then an undrafted free agency.
Yeah, I think there's 3 positions that I would not even blink at in shock if we double dipped at: wide receiver, offensive line, corner. Any combination of those guys, I think, could be selected twice in this draft, especially if we end up getting any more depth. Or any more additional ammunition in terms of like trade and stuff like that. If we do trade down, I think the likeliness of one of those positions goes up. And I think corner has as good a shot as wide receiver for that to happen, if I'm being honest.
I do too. I think it's actually more likely. You go back, look at the Ravens, they draft tons of corners. Tons of secondary players.
And they've been super solid for a while now in terms of corner, outside of the injuries, of course, which has been horrible. They've been solid in terms of talent to start the year.
That's actually, now that I'm thinking about it, that's one of those rooms, kind of like the running back room, where they just churn the bottom of the roster, like Joe Ortiz was saying. So we're kind of onto something here. We're going to see a lot of cornerbacks coming in and out with Joe Ortiz as general manager, I'm starting to think. Kind of like with the running back position.
Yeah, and I think Asante Samuel gives you a nice, starting point with the corners. But you're going to need an outside guy that's more suited in terms of the size and speed. You're going to need, Asante's okay in the slot, but I want somebody a little bit more physical in terms of run defense, and that's something that Sainer still shines.
Yeah, and his blitzing ability.
And getting cornerback from the interior. It's very exciting to think about what his potential would be with Jesse Minter. And speaking of Jesse Minter, we have another Michigan man on the board in Junior Colson. Now, I do see Edgerrin Cooper at the top of the board, and that is something that I would take instantly without even blinking, right? That is a huge value. And honestly, I might even, because it kind of speaks to the power of our draft position, right? We don't just have pick 5. We have 37, which is top of the second round. We have 69, top of the third round. Nice. Talent is going to slip. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And it could be Edgerrin Cooper. And he would be such a huge value and such a big piece of this defense, which honestly, at this point, linebacker, I feel, isn't getting enough attention to how important it is to Jesse Minter's system. It's pretty massive. And who do we have there right now?
I'm actually just looking at who went right before us, Christian Hayes.
Mm-hmm.
That would have been a home run pick in this mock draft in the third round, man. But, Edgerrin Cooper, he's like that hammer prospect. Remember Telesco was talking about hammers, drafted Denzel Perriman. Now we bring in Denzel Perriman. Edgerrin Cooper can be that kind of linebacker. He also has the athleticism, sideline to sideline ability. He can cover. I like his ability in terms of zone coverage in a Jesse Minter defense.
And I also believe that you take a look at what the Ravens have built, why they invested so much in Roquan Smith, what the Wolverines have been implementing the past couple of years, why they lean so heavily into players like Junior Colson. I think, honestly, that position isn't getting enough attention from Chargers fans. That could be a top of day 2 pick for all we know.
You know what else kind of isn't getting a lot of attention? Edge. Braylon Trice is here. What if they like Braylon Trice? Because I know everyone's going to be thinking, hey, we got
who
Joey
visited
Bosa,
with us.
Tuli Tuipulotu. We got Khalil Mack. Khalil Mack's going to be gone after this year. All right. I'm almost certain of that. They're not going to re-sign him. This is the last year of his contract. What if Joey Bosa doesn't live up to his potential this year, and he's, what every Chargers fan kind of thinks of him right now, which is like a bum. I don't think he's a bum, but let's just say he doesn't play well.
You take that back, Bull fam. You take that back about Joey Bosa.
I've been a big advocate of Joey Bosa. You guys know that. But let's just say he doesn't play very well. Then we really only have Tuli Tuipulotu. And if you draft an edge right here that you do like, let's say they do like Braylon Trice from Washington, then you look kind of like a genius this next year.
I think a lot of it depends on who they deem is the best talent left on the board. It could be Braylon. We've seen more edge players visit with us than I expected.
Dallas
right?
Turner, yeah, he just
Dallas Turner, Liatu. Like there's guys in the first. Like if you're gonna get them, you got to get them like top 10, top 15. Like we're prioritizing visitations with them, which is kind of crazy, and that speaks to what their intentions could be at the position of edge. So Braylon Trice could, for all we know, be the pick in round 3 if he's still there. Because he future-proofs that position, which, like we were talking about with inside linebacker, edge is massively important to the success of a Minter defense as well.
And the positional value, it's higher than linebacker.
Yeah. And I don't know if this draft, how it measures up against drafts in the past, but I like the edge talent this year a lot, especially, in terms of depth in the first, 3 rounds. It looks good. It looks really good. It looks solid. So yeah, that's definitely something that I would consider. In this particular mock draft, he got the Harrison edge. I'm going to take the Cooper edge in this one. Speaks to the position the draft position strength, and who knows who falls to us in the 3rd round. So I'm going to take Edgerrin here and trust that he becomes the Roquan Smith, the Patrick Queen kind of guy in a Ravens influenced defense under Jesse Minter. And you have 2 solid guys that all of a sudden can transform a defense in the image of what we're looking for. Big, hard-hitting, tough to pass on. It's off to a real good start. So Malik Neighbors, Mike Sainristil, Edgerrin Cooper is going to be mock draft B for the director. I don't know if I like my chances here. I'm not quite sure yet. A and B so far.
I like both of them. I like both of those a lot.
I think it kind of represents what my feelings would be even at 5. Like either one of these, Harrison, Neighbors, flip a coin, and I'd be happy. Let's move into mock draft C. This is where we put our brains together. It's the hybrid draft child of Maclane and director as to what we think could happen here. So now, being a gracious host, I'm going to go and allow Maclane the first pick in this draft, while also opening up the idea of a trade, if you choose to do so, not mandatory.
Do you want to go a couple more rounds so we can go like back and forth kind of thing? Like I do first round.
I would be completely down with that. Here we go. Let's go with the improvisation of, what are we thinking? 5 rounds. Let's go 5 deep. Let's go 5 rounds deep. I feel pretty good about prospects in that range.
Let's go all the way to undrafted free agency.
I don't know, Michael. Do you have till tomorrow? Because we could go till tomorrow.
Yeah, and select every team. Let's do every single pick.
Let's just hit go live and start now, and we'll be ready by the draft. Let's go. Let's go. All right, here comes Mike's first decision pick at pick number 5. Do you want to trade up? I should ask. No trading up. All right. Let's go ahead and start here. At pick number 5, we're going to actually bring the speed down just a little bit there.
Yeah, so we can see who's going. Okay.
So round 1, pick number 5. The board has fallen as such. Marvin Harrison off the board. There is some quarterback talent still left on the board if we were to choose a trade down. But obviously the options of Neighbors, Adunze, Alt, Bowers still on the table if you choose to go that direction.
So my preference right here, if it's Malik Neighbors or trade down, I would trade down. Just because I love the offensive line depth in this first round specifically. That's why in my mock draft A, which everyone's commenting and voting for, I asked you, is Amarius Mims still available? I know like JC Latham's probably, there's a ton of tackles that I like. And I think you can get one of those at 11. I think you can get one of those at 23 too. And so I'm thinking about that Vikings pick. But, in mock draft C here, you're my assistant GM.
Okay, all right, I dig it.
What do you think?
Assistant GM's going to chime in and say, if the Vikings offer us 2 first-round picks, in this draft in particular, right? Like, that's exciting. I'll allow it. And I do think that, quite honestly, just like it's a detail that doesn't matter here, but like there is going to be a quarterback tax for whoever decides to trade down, whether it be the Cardinals or the Chargers. All of this talk about the 2 first-round picks, I think I would take that instantly, but I honestly think that we would get something more in next year's draft as well. I think a 3rd round is pretty reasonable, but you never know. You could get robbed, like the Panthers, in terms of all of that kind of return because it's for a quarterback. It's not the first-round pick or the first overall pick, but there are some desperate teams out there, including the Vikings. So I'm going to go ahead and push that trade through. That's something I think a lot of us can expect to happen if the Chargers do decide to trade down. So we're going to get 11 and 23.
And then...
for 5.
Yeah, and then like maybe they're 4th next year.
Maybe they're 4th next year. We'll throw that in as a little cheddar on the side.
It really
for
just
a QB
depends
tax.
on how Joe Ortiz negotiates with the Vikings specifically. Because the value here and the value chart, it's going to be a little wonky in today's NFL. So it's really just kind of up to the teams and how they negotiate.
I've read it both ways. I've read one where the Chargers would be lucky to get the 11 and 23, which honestly, yeah, as a fan, that's super exciting. I get it.
I've also read that.
Yeah, I mean, quite honestly, 2 first-rounders in this draft is bonkers, right? But I've also read that a lot of the math that you do with the pick value chart and stuff, that goes out the window for a quarterback. And I've seen some people give us an extra 3rd. I've seen it as far as an extra 1st. Me personally, I think a 4th is a nice little sweet spot. And we can go ahead and push that through and see what we're working with now at picks 11 and 23 for the Chargers. Of course, the Vikings probably going quarterback there. J.J. McCarthy,
Yep.
Everything looking pretty solid so far. The Chargers back on the board. Pick 11. And boy, howdy, there's some exciting prospects still on the board, Michael. He's still on the board. Pick 1 of 1 in the 1st round. What are we thinking?
I have been a huge fan of Brock Bowers from the very beginning. And to me, this is as easy of a pick at 11 to take Brock Bowers as Marvin Harrison Jr. was at 5. Because that's the kind of prospect that this guy is. We should not forget that. People think that he can't block because he's undersized. I've said this a few times now in my videos.
That's bull hunky.
18 years old. He started at Georgia his very first year. He was undersized. He was underdeveloped. Going up against these grown SEC men, and he held his own. He was one of the top 14 blockers graded by PFF in run blocking and pass blocking these past 10 years, I think it was. One of the 14 best, who also happens to be the best receiving tight end in college football history.
And that in itself is a huge deal. A lot of the times tight ends, you see one or the other. Pass block, run block. This guy's he's a unicorn, even in blocking.
And you look at this offense. We're going to have 2 tight end sets. We're going to have 3 tight end sets. I don't care that they added Hayden Hurst. They added Will Dissly. He's a really good blocking tight end. He can catch the ball. You're not going to be throwing it to him because you want to have 2 to 3 tight ends on the field almost as much as you're going to have like 3 wide receivers on the field. So you value tight end maybe as highly as you value receiver in this Greg Roman offense because of just how often they are going to be on the field. Brock Bowers, he has that value of being a great receiver as well as being a great blocker.
Can you imagine him in an RPO lining up on the outside at receiver? Because we know he can get the separation if he wanted to in that situation. And being able to have that kind of a blocker on the outside as well, because how many tight ends do you know could line up outside pretty much whenever you ask him to and still find success?
Mm-hmm. You can put him anywhere. You can have him run the ball for you. He ran the ball at Georgia.
Yeah.
This is
the full package.
I love him. I love him. I love Marvin Harrison Jr. Those are 2 of my home run picks. I also, if Brock Bowers is not here, I'm looking at Talise Fuanga.
Yeah, Fuaga is good. Definitely the guy I'm kind of looking at in terms of offensive line there as well. But one quick question I'll ask you to kind of open the minds of the Bolt fam.
Okay.
If given the option, right, for a Jim Harbaugh / Greg Roman offense, if you had the option between Brock Bowers or Kyle Pitts, who are you inserting into this offense with the most upside?
Brock Bowers.
Yeah, I'm the same way. And that is how big this name is. Some people don't understand the talent he has at receiver, the talent he has in terms of after the catch stuff, as well as the blocking, which is so important to this offense. Bowers is a home run. I'm going to go ahead and put it in. We're running this card to the podium. We're good here, man.
And a lot of people think that tight end is off the board in the 1st round because of what we did in free agency.
Absolutely not.
In the same way that I said Zach Frazier is my center of the future because Bradley Bozeman doesn't stop me from drafting him, these 2 tight ends in free agency, they're not going to stop me from taking a generational prospect in Brock Bowers. So
yeah, he can be your featured weapon in this offense, as well as a featured blocker, as well as a guy that chips in the run game. He brings you every aspect of this offense a little bit of juice, which is super exciting. Now, here comes my pick. I also get a first-round pick courtesy of the talented trade down of our GM in this video. And I've got some options in front of me, some very exciting ones to look at in terms of, do the Chargers want to go receiver? Adonai Mitchell still out there. We got Ladd McConkey, who's one of my favorite wide receivers in this draft. But also here at the top, there's some guys that I would really have a hard time ignoring. Okay, Johnny Newton is certainly one that gets me excited. I think if he's there, I think the Chargers really have to consider it. But Amarius Mims and Jackson Powers Johnson also really have my attention, because if you can, if you can have Brock Bowers and one of these guys help you build the new and improved Jim Harbaugh, Greg Roman offense, I think you're off to a fantastic freaking start. Now, here's my issue, okay? Here's my dilemma. My gut wants to go Amarius Mims. Lock it in. You're good to go, right? You have that right tackle of the future. Jackson Powers Johnson, I feel, brings more to the offense immediately, because I view center as the biggest problem on this line right now. We have Trey Pipkins, which a lot of people are going to undersell. I get it. He's average at best, but average is much better than what we've had in the past. And you can find guys in the later rounds, like a Blake Fisher, like a Matt Gonsalves, that can be brought up to be the next right tackle of the future, right? You have time to do that because of Trey Pipkins. And Jackson Powers Johnson, a guy like him and his talent, would not only bring immediate effect right now, but also plug probably the biggest problem on this offensive line while buying you time to develop the right tackle. That being said, this offensive line group is so impressive. It is deep, but I don't know very many drafts where I'm going to see a talent like Amarius Mims still on the board at 22. I think in most drafts at tackle, he's going to be taken in the top 15 easily.
May I raise one question, Mr. GM? Amarius Mims and Jackson Powers Johnson both have injury histories.
That is true. That is true.
What if we take the best cornerback on the board, who has a ton of positional versatility, in Cooper DeJean?
Oh my God.
What if we take
You have to be a DeJean believer with number one. There's a lot of people that feel that he's a little bit overrated. Maybe he's not defined in terms of what his role will be in the NFL. I'm going to tell you right now that I am a DeJean believer, because I think he needs the right situation to thrive. Yeah, we don't know what his role is going to be. Are they going to switch him to safety? I think with the Chargers in particular, he would be our versatile slot guy. You know what I mean? He would be that weapon for Jesse Minter to unleash with Derwin James.
I would put him on the outside, see how he does at first.
Yeah.
And if he can't handle the physicality or something, I mean, this guy's a very athletic dude. Don't let the, look of him fool you, right?
Yeah.
Because how many times do we see white DBs? I'm just gonna say it. We rarely ever see that, but this dude is an athletic freak. He can play outside corner. He's another very technical player, kind of like Marvin Harrison Jr., a master at the techniques of it. He's got the fundamentals. I think he can play outside cornerback. He has the size. He's athletic. And the reason why I'm considering him over Amarius Mims is because Amarius Mims only played 8 games. But that's another dude who's a freaking freak, athletic freak, and he looks so good when he is on the field. Jackson Powers Johnson, he had those hamstring injuries, like at the Senior Bowl too. That's why he didn't play in that full Senior Bowl.
Yeah.
There's questions here.
And that was the setup in terms of like Trey Pipkins for me, like, because Amarius Mims, there's some question marks, but we don't need him to be right tackle one right now. You know what I mean? Like if we need to keep Trey Pipkins in, if he needs time, whatever, at least we have someone serviceable there. Best case scenario, Trey Pipkins moves down to swing. We got ourselves the perfect right tackle for Jim Harbaugh. But I'm going to zig here because, quite honestly, your perspective on DeJean helps justify my own. You and I are both a victim of some pretty mean comments sometimes. And there's a lot of people with differing opinions on DeJean. I'm one of those guys that think DeJean could be, honestly, in terms of playmaking, especially if you utilize him right and creatively, he has as much potential to be like a Jalen Ramsey style, playmaker if utilized properly. And I would be very excited for that. Not to mention, this position is so huge. I would have loved to take, yes, Nate Wiggins sometimes is here. Terrion Arnold right before us. Probably it would have ended up being my pick. But DeJean, to me, in this defense, is just too exciting to pass up. I also would really love to take. I'm super high on McConkey. That would probably, if I'm being clear, if I'm being honest, would probably be my second option here. But we're gonna go DeJean. We're gonna go DeJean because I think his potential, very specifically with Derwin James, would cause so many headaches for opposing offenses. I think their ability to move around would be ridiculous to try and throw at. Next up, round two.
Jesse Minter's got such a creative defense. He's got so many looks for the offense. A guy like Cooper DeJean and Derwin James.
Yeah.
You're going to have two guys that can be just used as disguised pieces. It would be a nightmare for opposing offenses. But now here we are in the second round. Zach Frazier is here. Ladd McConkey is here too. Kamari Lassiter, even though we have that outside corner, so I'm not going to take him. We do have another Oregon quarterback. Just saying. Just throwing that out there. Just throwing the vibes out. See what the Bolt fam feels. Here's a little bit further down the board. We got guys like Fisk, Lassiter, Morgan, who's been some guys, big tackle. We got Roman Wilson, a nice slot guy there. What are we thinking? Are we thinking receiver?
Mr.
Or do you want
McLean?
to get offensive line?
So in my mind, there is one name screaming that I mentioned, a round before. Didn't think he'd be here. But there he is. Chargers, mind you. We did grab an offensive weapon already in Brock Bowers, who could be the featured guy here. But dear God, there's Ladd McConkey in the second round, bro. Come on. There he is. Oh.
Okay. Are we fine with having Bradley Bozeman as the starting center? Because if we go towards round 3 and rounds 4, what if a guy like Cedric Van Pran is not there? What if Christian Haynes is not there? That we can solidify that interior of the offensive line? Because I want a guard or a center.
Here's my thoughts on that. I think, just like we're talking with Trey Pipkins, Bozeman offers us a little flexibility as we don't need a guy right this second, right? Because Bozeman offers the next dude a little bit of time to develop. I think out of the positions on the offensive line, interior and specifically center may have the best depth in terms of you can find guys, I would say in the 4th round, that you can bring up to be a starter in the future. It makes it difficult because I think that makes Frazier and Jackson Powers Johnson that much more enticing because of how big of a gap there really is between those guys. But you can find that talent a little bit later. Ladd McConkey, sure, I still think there's a really nice selection of guys that you can find in the 3rd round, but we're all of a sudden talking about the Chargers wide receiver 1 here, right?
What if I see Braden Fisk is there? That's really tempting too. That's another guy they brought in for a visit. Extremely athletic interior defensive lineman. What if we take him here and Ricky Pearsall in the 3rd?
I would be happy with Ricky Pearsall.
Because their games are very similar. And I like Ricky Pearsall. Do I like Ladd McConkey a full Braden Fisk more than a guy like Ricky Pearsall? You understand what I'm saying?
I do, but I have a certain obsession with McConkey in terms of what his projection could be in the NFL. But I do see that. Now, my question for you as well is, do you see ability to play outside? Because McConkey, a lot of times people disregard that, even with Pearson. The ability to play outside and inside. How do you weigh them against each other?
I think they can both play in the slot and outside. Ladd McConkey's a really good route runner. He can offer you some yak ability as well. I do like Ladd McConkey here. We do need another receiver. And I would like to get in on this receiving class before we experience a drop. And I don't know if a guy like Ricky Pearsall is going to be there. Troy Franklin is another guy to consider. His game is pretty similar to Brian Thomas Jr. Yeah, I would take Ladd McConkey here, but I am really tempted by Braden Fisk.
I would be tempted by Braden Fisk too. I think defensive line, just like we talked with linebacker, is a sneaky, huge potential position that the Chargers are really looking at. But I think McConkey's going to be special. I think you're going to need a guy with his exact skill set if you're looking at him to carry a little bit in terms of availability, because Justin Herbert, who has had Keenan Allen his entire NFL career, all of a sudden doesn't have a wide receiver that can separate. McConkey's one of the best in this draft to give you that. So I'm about it. I'm about it. This is your pick. But I completely endorse it.
Lock it in.
Lock it in. Ladd McConkey, wide receiver 1, Los Angeles Chargers, in combination with Brock Bowers. Let's just go full Georgia. Ooh. Here we go. Round 3. Chargers back on the clock. We're going to round it back to GM Maclane as to what the next selection's going to be. Sanders is exciting, but we already got ourselves a tight end. We got Edrin Cooper still on the board in round 3. There's your guy at offensive line if you wanted to get some value. Junior Colson. There's a couple nice running backs. What are we feeling?
I kind of don't want to overthink it. I kind of just want to get Christian Haynes because this lines up really well with best player available, position of need, and premier position. I really like this pick.
I love this pick. I think this worked out great for us because I like, Baker. He's got some potential, but Baker and Frazier versus McConkey, it's like I think that stacks very, very well for us. So we're not even going to think about it. That's a great value in the 3rd round and a great fit for the team if it wants to continue. Did it want us to just stick to the 3 rounds, Michael? Did it want? Okay, there we go. I was like, you're doing 3 and that's it.
It wanted us to take one of those linebackers. Junior Colson and Edger Cooper were both available there. But you can't overthink it. Oh my God. Okay. Bo Limmer is here.
Bo Limmer's here. He's great. He's great. But I got to tell you, I don't know how many people know who this guy is. Arist Gafau. Bolt fam, I want you to do a little bit of research on this dude. Go look him up. This is one of the meanest, hardest hitting, physical linebackers in the entire draft. And guess what? Cherry on top, he's actually pretty solid in coverage as well. Now, sure, he doesn't need, or he will need a little bit of coaching from Minter, but in terms of where you're drafting him, Leofau is a very exciting prospect to match up with a guy like oh my God, I'm starting to blank. Dan Henley. I think that's definitely something very, very nice to think about. Actually, we kind of want to take real quickly look at the other linebackers that would be available later. I mean, Eckenberg's not bad. Barrett could be okay, but I'm just going to throw his name in the hat because there are other guys that we've seen some excitement around. Why don't you pick a name off the board here, Michael? Who gets you excited in round 4?
I like Marshawn Lloyd a lot.
Him and Ray Davis, at this point in terms of available running backs in the 4th round, which we see a lot, those are just my dudes. Like, you could easily see the Chargers building an offense behind either one of those guys. I think Ray Davis brings a hugely excellent complement to Gus Edwards. Marshawn Lloyd brings more of RB1 flavor to me in the future.
We don't have a running back right now that can really get out of the backfield and, even like play in the slot.
Yeah.
Like a receiving running back, change of pace, change of direction kind of guy. And Marshawn Lloyd can do that really well. He does have some fumble issues. I'm a USC fan, so I'm just going to throw that out there. I do like Ray Davis as well, but I would pick Marshawn Lloyd over him because of the connection to Kyle McDonald, the running backs coach on the Chargers right now.
Yeah, that's super fair.
They went to that USC Pro Day. They were meeting with him. Kyle McDonald, the running backs coach, was at the USC Pro Day.
A couple other guys that I absolutely love in this range. Gonsalves has been a dude I've been preaching. He had the injury, ACL, early last season, but he's the kind of guy, again, that we don't have to shove into the starting role right away. Next season, Gonsalves would be our starter, and we would be very happy with him. Cade Stover, but we already have the tight end situated.
Yeah.
I always get excited to see him in the 4th round. Leonard Taylor's pretty nice. If we still needed a slot guy, Nis Smith is one of my favorite. Real quick, I kind of want to look at what the running backs look like if we were to have to look at them a little later. I mean, Estime and Allen feel great. Shipley looks great. Here's what I'm going to do with my pick in the 4th round. I think Leafau to me gets me super excited in this defense, and we're back on the board at pick 110. I have to assume one of these crazy running backs should still be left on the board. Hopefully.
Well,
we're going to cross our fingers.
What if Bo Limmer?
Bo Limmer's also tempting.
Would Bo Limmer be there at 110 and then we could just push running back to
even
the 5th?
Further down?
Because there's a lot of good running backs right now.
Yeah, there are. There's quite a bit.
If you want to take that linebacker from Notre Dame, that nasty linebacker, you can take him. And then at 110, we can try to get Bo Limmer.
Or if one of those running backs slip and Bo Limmer's gone, there's some options there. So I like that because of how close these 4th round picks are next to each other. And even if we miss, there's guys with a lot of potential a little bit later. Nugent's great. Norzad's great. Some of these later guys have heard some, rumor floating around, but Limmer's an awesome option in the 4th round. So I'm going to go Leafau here at pick 105, and we're going to see who falls to us at 110.
This is big. Oh, no.
Oh, he was a couple of picks down. We still have Marshawn Lloyd on the table. We got Matt Gonsalves. We've got Estime. We got an awesome arsenal of running backs here still, too. So what do we think in GM?
Ah, man. Because that interior offensive line, we haven't hit that yet.
We got...
Oh, did we?
Yes. We got Hayes, right?
Oh, okay. Okay, now I'm
McConkey.
feeling good. I'm feeling good.
Yes, in the 3rd round. Yes. Huge value.
All right, thank God. I like Tyrone Tracy. That's a former wide receiver. Moved to a running back. But, again, I just like Marshawn Lloyd a lot. I think that's my RB1, maybe.
Really?
Right now.
I mean, I don't question it. Definitely not.
I like Cole Bishop, too, but we don't really need safety at this point.
Did we take DeJean in this draft? I think, yeah, that would be a little redundant.
I think we did. I like Malik Washington.
Me too.
Okay, so we took Lad McConkey, so we don't really need that. Let's hit, Ben Sinnott. Oh my God. In the 4th round, Ben Sinnott. I might do that. I might actually double dip on tight end.
In combination with Brock Bowers.
I'm really considering that would be nasty. Oh my God. It's either Ben Sinnott or Marshawn Lloyd or whatever running back that you would want.
If we miss out on the next wave of running backs, because where will we be picking next? It'd be 140.
140.
So we'd be in the range of some of these guys here. We might get lucky on a Shipley, an Allen.
I like Kamani Vidal. I like Will Shipley.
Vidal's underrated, yeah. We just go straight up Frank Gore Jr.
There's quite a few good running backs here. I think it's the difference between Marshawn Lloyd and like Jace McClellan. Is that
I think
big?
there's a pretty big gap, but there's some awesome talent still up here in round 4.
I really like Ben Sinnott. It's kind of crazy to double dip at tight end, but again, we gotta understand they value that position really highly, and Ben Sinnott can block his butt off, man.
In this instance, what if it means losing Donald Parham?
Yeah.
Unless we roster 5,
I remember, I think it was Andy Biscoff, the run game coordinator / tight ends coach, when we were there. He said that they view Donald Parham as a still developing player.
Oh,
so
yeah.
that
Okay.
might be a little bit of an insight on how they view him and how much they're going to put him on the field. I mean, it's got that hype.
And if you're investing in someone to develop, maybe Sinnott is going to be the guy that you want to develop.
Man, I don't know. This is kind of crazy, but I'm actually down to do Ben Sinnott.
Let's do it. Let's lock it in. Lock it in.
This is just like best player available along with what the coaches would want.
You shocked me there. I was ready to lock in Marshawn Lloyd, but I mean,
I was too.
God, Brock Bowers and Sinnott in the same draft. Like, if you're trying to build that running attack, there it is. And all of a sudden, look at the running back still available at the top of the board.
Will Shipley, he can catch the ball.
Braylon Allen. This is really tough for me because I feel like Will Shipley, especially in the, where are we, round 5, that's going to be your best complement available right now to Gus Edwards, right? You're going to have the guy that can, kick it outside, has the speed to take it all the way to the house. He's got the receiving ability. Like, he's the complete package in terms of a complementary back to Gus Edwards. Braylon Allen, though, maybe it's just my craziness. Some people think it's a little bit too redundant in terms of talent, in terms of what he is as a running back. But I see a future RB1 in Braylon Allen because of what he brings, not just in size. It's exciting to get excited about like a big dude at running back, that Derrick Henry effect, but it just fits the identity of this team beautifully. And even past the Gus Edwards days, Braylon Allen would be the man of this offense because he has that rare combination of size, power, and speed. Sure, we would probably still need to find a receiving guy, either in the draft, free agency, whatever. But Braylon Allen, to me, just brings not just the now, because he would be an excellent, guy to share time with Gus Edwards, but you have your future RB1 potentially in a pick like this too. So what do we think? Because I'm open to both. I'm open to future RB1 potential, or quite honestly, Shipley is one of the best RB2s I think we can grab right now in terms of versatility.
I mean, it kind of just it depends on what Jim Harbaugh wants. Does he want a bell cow guy, or does he want a running back by committee approach? Because with Joe Ortiz and the Ravens, they always had running back by committee, but Jim Harbaugh had Frank Gore and he had Blake Corum. He had some bell cow guys.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's really just, this one's up to coach. This one's up to Jim Harbaugh, man.
Okay. All right. With that, I'm just going to go with my gut here because I love Shipley. I think he's going to be a great talent, but I think Braylon Allen is special. It's a gut guy for me. I think Braylon Allen in the right situation is a star. And I think that with the Chargers, he has that potential to do that. So we're going to take Braylon Allen here in the 5th round. We got another running back. Might still need to fill a role. Maybe there's even an expanded role for, Isaiah Spiller in terms of receiving. He's got some nice skill set there. But I think that 1-2 punch of those guys is going to be so hard to stop because when it comes to the physicality, all of a sudden you got Gus Edwards, a couple of downs. Then you have to deal with Braylon Allen. It's just nonstop swings to the jaw. You know what I mean? So here's our draft C featuring a trade down. Chargers grab themselves a Brock Bowers at 11. Follow up with Cooper DeJean, corner/safety, versatile defensive player. We get lucky with McConkey. We get lucky with Haynes, honestly.
Yeah.
Leo Fowl in the 4th, followed by Sinnott and Braylon Allen to round it out. How are we feeling about that? The combined mind powers of the Maclane and the director.
I feel good about that one. That's going to help out the offense a ton.
Yeah, that's beautiful to look at. I would be very excited. I think Brock Bowers, I think we hit on all the notes for the Bolt fam. We got the best case scenario in terms of talent that we're all screaming for Marvin. We got the likely situation and explosiveness for Malik. And then in the top, Brock Bowers, which is a lot of fans still of him for the Chargers fandom. So yeah, I'm feeling pretty good about it. Bolt fam, in the comment section below, let us know your thoughts. You can rank them A, B, C, or in any order, or you could just let us know straight up which is your favorite draft. Now that we have it all down on paper, Michael, do you have a preference? It could be mine, it could be yours, it could be our combined powers.
I like mock draft C, but I like mock draft A a lot too. I mean, I like all of them. I would be happy with every single one of these.
I think, quite honestly,
like trade down.
There really is no right answer because of how solid all of them are. If I had to choose one, I get excited about this one, but I view Marvin Harrison as a super, super special prospect, so I think I would still lean mock draft A, but there's some quality drafting throughout all three of these, I have to say.
This one, you talk about the depth. I mean, that is your go-to draft if you want a lot of depth on this team.
McConkey in the second too, just... I have done a lot of mock drafts where we jump the Chiefs to make sure they don't get McConkey. I feel that confident in his talent. Well, with that, Michael Maclane, thank you so much for joining us. We ran a little bit long, but I think we had some fun along the way. Got lost in the daydream of what can be in the next couple of weeks. But yeah, thank you so much for joining us, Michael. Go ahead and let them know where they can find you.
You just find me on YouTube. Type in my name, Michael Maclane. That's Maclane.
There you have it. The rising star. We can't even say that anymore. The mastermind in Chargers content entering the fold for 2024. The Jim Harbaugh season is going to be one to remember, and it's the YouTube community coming together to help make that happen. Well, guys, thank you so much for joining us. This has been The Director. Hit us up with a like and sub on your way out. If you did enjoy this content, check out the link for Michael's channel in the description below. We'll catch you next time. And as always, bolt up and stay frosty.